You're about to enter the Atomic Voodoo Lounge, New Stanton's one and only surreal dive bar, bringing you beauty and magic and terahertz tragic. I'm Maxwell Vegas, writer, poet, musician, and author of the soon-to-be-published novel, New Stanton. Descend with me into the static buzz of late-night radio, where words and music swirl through neon dreams and drift like cigarette smoke out over dried-up prehistoric seas. Welcome to the Atomic Voodoo Lounge podcast, your place for a taste of the strange in liminal, noir, surreal, speculative, poetry, fiction, and music. So take your place at the bar, relax, order a drink, enjoy the show. I'm Maxwell Vegas, and tonight we'll have music from Urban Surf Kings, Tentacles, and The Leviathans, AVL's Cocktail of the Evening, flash fiction from John Watson, New Stanton Noir, 4 Church of the Moldering Stone, including poetry by yours truly, Maxwell Vegas. All great stuff, but there's even more. Did you know New Stanton has a movie theater? Well, it's on the seedier side of town. Okay, that's just about every side of town. And it's seen better days, haven't we all? But the Neon Mirage has been a central hub over the years for this crossroad town's population, hosting first dates, last dates, lonely night excursions, relaxing, mindless entertainment, fantastical escapes into other worlds, and visual delights of all flavors. The Neon Mirage Theater has seen it all and shown it all. With that in mind, the Neon Mirage Theater and the Atomic Voodoo Lounge podcast are proud to present Back Alley Noir, a new feature where I've teamed up with Wade, curator of Substack's The DVD Vault, to provide listeners with quick takes on classic noir and neo-noir films. My intention here is twofold: introduce listeners to the world of film noir, provide a starting point in your noir journey, so to speak, and provide gentle reminders to those already familiar with film noir to seek out and experience some fantastic films. It's my hope that you'll find these pieces both informative and entertaining, and that they will spur you on to seek out these films. And tonight, we start with one of the classics of neo-noir, Chinatown. Now, what are you drinking? How about the Red Lantern Sour, inspired by the mood of midnight Chinatown streets, smoky citrus, dark tea, sharp ginger. Here's what you'll need: 1.5 ounce rye whiskey, 1/2 ounce mezcal, 3/4 ounce lemon juice, 1/2 ounce ginger syrup, 1/2 ounce black tea syrup, 2 dashes of aromatic bitters, and optionally 1 tiny teeny drop of toasted sesame oil. Garnish with candied ginger or a thin lemon peel. Here's how to make it. Brew strong black tea and mix equal parts with sugar to make the syrup. Let it cool. Add the rye, mezcal, lemon, ginger syrup, black tea syrup, bitters, and the teeniest drop of sesame oil, if you're using that, to a shaker with ice, and shake hard. You want it cold, glossy, and tightly blended. Strain into a chilled coupe or rocks glass over a single cube, and garnish with candied ginger or a long, thin lemon peel that curls like rising steam. And enjoy. Off of their new release, Retrosonic 2, Revenge of the Surf, here's Califuria Nights by Urban Surf Kings. Alla Furia Night, Urban Surf Kings off of Retrosonic 2, Revenge of the Surf. Check them out on Bandcamp.
A very nosy fellow, kitty cat, huh? You know what happens to nosy fellows? Huh? No? Wanna guess? Huh? No? Okay. They lose their noses.
Are you a nosy fella? I hope so, regardless of the consequences. The Neon Mirage Theater presents Back Alley Noir by Wade, curator of the DVD Vault on Substack, to help guide those misguided noses around the world of noir and neo-noir film. And tonight, we take a trip to Chinatown. Noir writer James Ellroy's statement of noir being defined as having an atmosphere of "you're fucked" helps one see Chinatown for what it is. Polanski's masterpiece and the perfect encapsulation of everything that defines noir filmmaking. Right from the classic noir opening credits and the introduction of Jerry Goldsmith's score, Polanski establishes Chinatown's melancholic atmosphere, and from there, he immerses the viewer in a 1930s Los Angeles meticulously recreated through set design, actual locations, costumes, vehicles, and dialogue. Within this atmosphere and setting, he then hits every single noir beat perfectly as Jack Nicholson's Jake Geddes, an ex-cop turned PI, investigates the mysterious death of a key water company engineer conveniently in the midst of a water rights dispute. As the investigation becomes more dangerous and his life proves to be increasingly less valuable in the big scheme, he continues on for more noble reasons, which is an inversion of the typical noir formula. Similarly, the nature of the femme fatale is to tempt the protagonist to his own destruction, but the background and motivation of Evelyn are revealed to be tragic and selfless. Jake risks his life to help her because it's the right thing to do, rather than the wrong thing for reasons the noir hero's distorted viewpoint thinks is right, as is typical with the genre. The casting of Chinatown's leads lends to the argument for the film as a neo-noir masterpiece. Faye Dunaway's Evelyn is cunning and world-weary, channeling something more akin to Barbara Stanwyck or Veronica Lake in a femme fatale role, much more subtle than her turn as the menacing femme fatale Milady de Winter in the raucous Richard Lester Three Musketeer films of 73 and 74, or as the wild child Bonnie Parker in Bonnie and Clyde, 1967. Nicholson is undeniably one of the all-time greats, but it's also fair to say that, like many of the greats, he can overdo it at times. Chinatown may be his most reserved and nuanced performance, and he doesn't get enough credit for the way he conveys the duality of Jake Geddes. Jake takes pride in his work and defends it adamantly against a banker whom he calls out for foreclosing on the homes of poor families. When one of his working-class clients comes up short, Jake tells him to keep the amount he was going to pay because he doesn't want to leave him with nothing. However, he's perfectly willing to bleed a wealthy client for all her money, lie to the police, and trespass on county land. To quote another Nicholson performance, my reaction to Geddes after the first 30 minutes is,
"I like him already."
But there's also a crass, ugly side to the private investigator seen in his hostility toward Asian people, which probably stems from his past experience as a beat cop in Chinatown. One thing I've noticed about neo-noir is a tendency to take everything classic noir had to imply due to the strict censorship of the Hays Code, and overtly plaster it all over the screen. Sex, violence, coarse language, everything. Chinatown, though, in its recreation of classic noir, doesn't aim to shock until its final scene, and the twist, the graphic nature of the film's final moments, and the overall resolution of the narrative are among the most disturbing in the genre. Wade is a lit major and educator who shares and discusses films through the physical media they're printed on. And he has an impressive collection of over 2,300 films. For more of his insightful cinematic discussions, please visit his DVD vault at dvdvault.substack.com. I'm looking forward to more from Wade. From the horror of the lived world, let's take a step into the cosmic horror that surrounds it with John Watson's flash fiction story, The Diner. Jonas steered his truck through a seemingly endless series of switchbacks, now totally convinced that the GPS was leading him astray. The higher he climbed, the thicker the fog became, and with sheer drop-offs to his left, every turn became an invisible hazard to navigate. Relief swept through his body as a neon sign, Diner, broke through the thickening fog. He pulled into the lot and took a moment to catch his breath before stepping out of the vehicle and into the cozy confines of the diner. The eatery was a throwback to the 1950s, with chrome and neon everywhere, as well as tabletop jukeboxes in every booth. Jonas slid into the nearest one, the red leather seating feeling like a warm hug. It was only when he got settled that he noticed the other diners looking at him, a quizzical expression on their faces. Given that he was well off the beaten path, their surprise at seeing a stranger was likely warranted, but it still gave Jonas the creeps. "What can I get you, hon?" With a shake of his head, Jonas turned his attention to the server, who was dressed in a cotton candy-colored uniform, her red hair tied up in a bun. Jonas flicked his eyes to her name tag and gave her a smile. "Coffee would be great, Marla." She returned the smile. "I'll throw in a slice of pie on the house. You look famished. We need to fatten you up a little before you move on." The comment seemed innocent enough, but something about the tone of her voice felt off. Still, he kept the smile on his face and thanked her for the kindness. He would chug the coffee, slam the pie, and get back on the road ASAP. Fog be damned. The thought of leaving quickly slipped away when the coffee and pie arrived. The brew was hot, fresh, and delicious, while the apple pie, which came with a scoop of vanilla ice cream, was almost as good as what his mother used to make. Lost in thought and happy memories, Jonas turned to look out the window, which was when he saw the 2 holes in the side of the mountain. Smoke billowing out in regular rhythm, like the mountain was breathing. "It's something, isn't it?" Jonas jumped at Marla's voice, his fork falling to the floor, impossibly loud in the now dead silent diner. "Is there some kind of mill or factory here?" he asked, hoping for a normal answer. Marla smiled again, but her dead eyes made it look more like a grimace. No, nothing like that. Industry would taint this place. Plus, the master would not allow it. All hail the master, the diners chanted. Marla stooped down to be at eye level with Jonas. You were called here by him. I just took a wrong turn. The diners were chanting again, but this time it was in a language that was foreign, ancient, and dark. There is no wrong turn to this place, Jonas. You were summoned. Out of the corner of his eye, Jonas caught movement outside the window. The vents, which he now realized were nostrils, were moving upward. Something huge, something tentacled, was rising. The master is chosen. All hail the master. How do you know? Please, let me leave, Jonas sobbed. Marla pulled the clips from her hair and let the red locks fall, shaking them out as she spread her arms wide. There's no leaving. Not for you. This is your beginning. Your entry into the eternal void. Looking out the window once more, Jonas saw himself reflected in the pupil of a massive eye. He screamed once before falling into madness. Well, at least the coffee and pie were good. And that just goes to show you never know where the road will lead you. Born and raised in Scotland and now living in the States, John Watson is a horror author who loves to find the macabre in the mundane. The author is currently working on 3 new releases, all of which should arrive in 2026. You can check out his store at buymecoffee.com, author John W/extras. And his website is www.authorjohnwatson.com. Music for Alternative Reality Volume 2 is the newest release from Taboo Recordings, available at houseoftaboo.com. Remember, taboo is spelled Tabu. This is The Tentacles and the Leviathans, Daggertooth. Daggertooth by the Tentacles and the Leviathans off of Music for Alternative Realities, Volume 2. You can find that at houseoftaboo.com or on Bandcamp under Taboo Recordings. This is New Stanton Noir number 4, The Church of the Moldering Stone. These are 6-word stories that take inspiration from my novel New Stanton and loosely fall together into a narrative. Reflection asks, "You a deranged undertaker?" Dark suit, broken nose, sunken eyes. Sure as shit looked the part. My Malibu drove away without me. Can't really say I blame it. Oh, there's enough blame to go around. The Church of the Moldering Stone. Lodged beside a furious highway. Lonely. Sandstone blackened, years of roadside penance. A defiant allegory against radioactive skies. Bell tower, steeple, Gothic iron-bound doors. No friar talk, no tender Assisi. Secret neutron star grottos, barred, locked. Bleak flakes of sadness dust me. Denied entrance, woe begone, business as usual. Wrapped in despair, prayer whispered upward. Who is New Stanton's patron saint? Cross? Only a motionless letter Z. Think you can do better at a 6-word story, a 6-word noir, surreal, speculative, horror? Maybe you can. That's why I'm sending out the Maxwell Vegas Challenge to all of my Substack subscribers. Write up your best 6-word story or series of 6-word stories and submit them in the chat area for a chance to maybe hear them on an upcoming episode of the Atomic Voodoo Lounge. If you follow me on Substack, you may have noticed I have a new publication called Lenten Poems for Leaden Minds. This is a collection of poetry I'm writing, a poem a day during the season of Lent. Now, these aren't necessarily religious poems, but they are not necessarily not religious poems. I thought I'd share one with everybody to give everyone the flavor and maybe get some more people reading the poetry. This one is called There's a Hole in the Library's Wall. This one's appropriate for the Atomic Voodoo Lounge because it does figure in and around my novel New Stanton. A Hole in the Library's Wall by Maxwell Vegas. A hole in the library's wall kissed me. A nighttime exhalation inviting me. A cracked plaster wilderness hidden behind shelved books. Darkness compounded in the dust of exposed brick, leading pulling, luring, a prehistoric sea, bubbling, unseen, calling me to that buried world, that non-existent world beneath all libraries. A prayer riding the slightest breeze, whispering words of the long dead. My words hidden in the hole of my brain, forever planted deep down and within and under. Amen. A hole in the library's wall is one of my Lenten poems for leaden minds. You can find all of the poems at lentonpoems.substack.com. My goal is to post a new poem for every day in the Lenten season. I also try to include an audio recording of each poem. So head on over to lentonpoems.substack.com and subscribe. It's free, folks. No strings attached. Coming soon from Heavy Sixer Productions, New Stanton, a novel by Maxwell Vegas. Mr. Harold Dean, a shady alcoholic, just woke up with one hell of a hangover at the Starlight Inn, New Stanton's dingy motel. The only problem is, New Stanton doesn't exist. Join Mr. Dean on this postmodern night journey through buried memories, liminal spaces, and treachery as he searches for his sole means of escape, a blue 1964 Chevy Malibu. Will he be able to find his car before the evil Dr. Freytag does? Can Mr. Dean trust a host of bizarre characters to help him solve the mysteries of his own dysfunction and accept that New Stanton is exactly where he needs to be? The answer to these questions and many more lies scattered across New Stanton, a town that sits on the edge of a dried-up prehistoric sea, a town that exists inside and down. Thanks for listening to the Atomic Voodoo Lounge podcast. I'm Maxwell Vegas, and you might just find me tucked in a hole behind some bookshelves in your local library. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please subscribe at atomicvoodoolounge.com. Did I mention it's free? Well, it is. And spread the good word. And if you are interested in contributing or being a sponsor, drop me a line and we can discuss the particulars. And don't forget, our 6-word noir challenge is open to subscribers via the Atomic Voodoo Lounge chat. Check out the Atomic Voodoo Lounge on Substack and subscribe. Find out more about Maxwell Vegas and Heavy Sixer Productions at HeavySixerProductions.com or MaxwellVegas.com. A big thank you to Urban Surf Kings, the Tentacles, and the Leviathans, as well as HouseOfTaboo.com and TabooRecordings.com. I'd like to thank Mad Gravity Studio, mgstudio.org, for their song Shady, which we used under our 6-word noir stories, and Jazz Music Loop by Nico Sardis, used under Attribution 4.0 license. You can find that on freesound.org. I'd like to thank Wade, curator of the DVD Vault on Substack for his piece on Chinatown, which is the first installment of the Neon Mirage Theater presents Back Alley Noir. I would like to thank John Watson for his story, The Diner. Great stuff. Some sound effects and music used on a Creative Commons license. All words and music composed, read, programmed, and or performed by Maxwell Vegas, unless otherwise stated. All text, music, and performances, copyright Heavy Sixer Productions 2026. All rights reserved. And please keep your AI bots away from the Atomic Voodoo Lounge podcast. Strictly old school here, folks. And remember, AtomicVoodooLounge.com.